lawmakers are trying to block a proposal banning some liquor and beer sales at some Kansas City stores. Thanks for joining us this afternoon. I'm Carolina Cruz.
I'm Bill Hurlbrink. The Kansas City Council could vote on the alcohol shooter ban as soon as tomorrow. Now, the proposed ordinance, it bans many shooter liquor bottles along with malt beverages and beer sold in 40-ounce containers or less. It would apply to stores in 5 different neighborhoods. KCTV5's Maya Engel is live for us this afternoon with details on the action the state lawmakers just took here in the last couple of hours. Maya?
Yeah, guys, House Speaker John Patterson is trying to stop Kansas City from banning the sale of those mini alcohol bottles in certain neighborhoods. And his strategy is slipping an amendment into a bill, an existing bill, that has nothing to do with this alcohol ban. That bill is House Bill 3347. It's sponsored by Representative Jim Murphy. It would regulate contingent fee contracts used by political subdivisions for legal services. Do not ask me any more questions about that bill. When the Commerce Committee asked Representative Murphy how the liquor ban connects to this bill, he was straightforward. Murphy said, quote, "This came about yesterday when the speaker asked me to do this." The committee hearing lasted about 2 hours, mostly focused on the original bill, while some people did briefly speak in support of the alcohol ban amendment.
Not only will it not solve the problem, we think it may actually make it worse because adult consumers will now buy more product at those locations within the designated area, potentially creating an even bigger problem versus the problem that they're trying to solve.
You can't sell a 1 can of beer, but you can sell 6. And I said, well, by my understanding, if 1 created a problem, then wouldn't 6 create 6 times that problem?
During the hearing, committee members raised concerns about Missouri's single subject rule that requires every bill to address only one subject. An attorney at the hearing said adding the alcohol ban amendment to House Bill 3347 would probably be a problem. So where does this leave that single-serve alcohol ban in Kansas City? Well, the full city council could vote on that ban as soon as tomorrow. But if this House bill does get approved, then the city would not be able to actually enforce that ban. However, that House bill still has a long way to go. It is still in committee, so it probably wouldn't get to the governor's desk for a while. Live in Kansas City, Maya Engel, KCTV 5 News.
Yeah, interesting how this would affect local control. Thanks, Maya.